Well, hello, friends. Dave Trotter here with Awaken Magazine. So excited to be back with you for our weekly Rise and Shine live stream. We do this every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern, where we connect with several of our executive contributors from Awaken Magazine, giving them an opportunity to dive into a conversation around a particular topic that I believe is important. And so if you haven't watched our previous Rise and Shine live streams, you can access those on our YouTube account. Just go to YouTube, type in Awaken Magazine. You'll find us there. Go down to the Rise and Shine live stream playlist, and we've got so many wonderful conversations. So this week, we are talking about the subject of, let me get it right here, the body as a temple, awakening through somatic practices such as breath work, movement, energy work. And in the process, the overall conversation that we're having is really about trauma-informed healing. So I'm very excited to have with us today three of our executive contributors, including Oracle Maureen, Jim Ossett, and Dr. Danielle Griffin. And so okay, let's hear the crowd welcome you. Yes. So excited. Yes. I'm excited.
Thank you.
So if we could have just a few minutes of each one of you introducing yourself, share briefly who you are, maybe where you live in the world, and then how you are serving our world. So Maureen, would you mind going first?
Sure. Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Oracle Maureen, Chief Principal Oracle for Jesus, Kuan Yin, Mary, Buddha, and God. Yeah, that's a lot. I serve them, serving mankind in a variety of ways. Readings, classes, workshops, healings, psychic detective work, entity clearings. As a master level channeler, they'll also use a lot of my time to channel messages to impart their wisdom, helping all of us here on Earth to continue to ascend higher in our enlightenment process.
Thank you so much, Oracle Maureen. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Where do you reside, by the way, just so people, get to know us a little bit?
Sure. I'm in Orange County, California.
Hey, you're down the way from me.
I am down the way from you, David.
Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're serving the world.
Hello. I am Jem. I'm an electronic, ambient, and spiritual music producer. I specialize in healing frequencies, and I design those around the moon cycles, and this is to help people with their awakening journey. I am super excited to be here. I'm Australian. I live in LA. But just to confuse things, I am currently on tour in Nashville. So that's where I am right now.
Wonderful. It's great to have you. And Dr. Danielle Griffin, welcome to the live stream.
Thank you. Like David said, I'm Dr. Danielle, and I help busy professionals reduce stress, relieve pain, and heal from trauma. And I do this through somatic practices, somatic exercise, breath work, meditation, movement, as well as incorporating hypnotherapy and yoga practices as well. So working with busy professionals that have experienced just this burden of stress or grief or just life events that caught in this constant cycle.
Great to have you. Thank you so much. All right. Well, today, as I mentioned, we're talking about the body as a temple, awakening through somatic practices. And so I'd love to talk about, just in the beginning, this phrase, the body as a temple. What is that phrase? What does that language mean to you? So, Jim, would you mind going first?
Sure, I would love to. The body is a temple, and for me, that really just means honoring your body as your sacred space. I think we often view the body as something to change, something to fix, something to repair. And for me, the body as a temple is just a beautiful mantra, and it's a reminder that we start from a place of sovereignty, and it's your sacred place to always come back to and really honor. That's what the body as a temple really connects with me.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Maureen? What does that phrase mean to you?
To me, my perception is our bodies are a vessel for our souls, and it's an extension of how we experience ourselves with our soul here on earth, going through it in the physical vessel, temple, which allows us to feel things physically, emotionally, as well as also going through all the mental things that we go through. So it's a complex form of continuing to expand our soul's evolution with the use of the body. And because of that, the Ascended Masters have taught me it is because of that that it is so important that we learn how to hold it in a higher state than how most of us typically live here on Earth, which is all the things that we're going to talk about today, on how to release, how to raise the vibration, so that we are operating at a higher level here, so we can make wiser choices, which will create more positive karma and exist in a highly negative environment with more health and more happiness.
Thank you, Maureen. You have a bit of sound coming through as you're speaking. I don't know if you happen to have a fan. Do you have a fan or anything in your space? Or
I
could
do.
you?
I can hear it. I'll call Ava up here, David. I don't know what it is. It's coming from here. Oh, it's the microphone, you guys. I'm sorry. That's never happened.
Yeah,
It's
no worries.
I just touched it. It's gone.
I just thought it was angelic frequencies
It's
coming through there.
it's healed.
That's it.
It's
The
healed.
heal. The healer healed the microphone.
She was like this.
I was gonna do this. Ava.
Boom.
We're
Okay.
good now.
Dr. Danielle, the body as a temple. How would you describe those words? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it causes me to reflect on life in general. And, especially as we're younger, we tend to take advantage of our bodies, have the thought process kind of that we're going to live forever, like this indefinite time. I can do what I want. I can treat my body how I want. Do what I want with my body. But as we start to age, we start to realize we need to take care of ourselves. We will not live forever. Hopefully we can extend the length of time, but it's important to maximize the time that we have here on earth and create a high quality of life for ourselves. And what do we want that to look like? And learning from our ancestors, our elders, learning from their mistakes, learning from things they did right, and having that awakening, earlier on in life so that we can, maximize our time, have more presence with the ones that we love, do the things that we enjoy, and, just in general, taking care of ourselves.
Yes. It's interesting as I hear the three of you guys talk, I'm hearing this combination of, okay, sacred vessel. There's this sense of divine sacredness. When I think about temple, I think, okay, there's a divine presence in a temple, right? Whatever temple, a place of worship, there's a sense of divinity within it. I was like, okay, so I'm a vessel for my soul, as Maureen said. But then at the same time, there's a physicality to it. And so, how am I taking care of the physicality aspect of it while I'm here? In the last, I would say 2 years, have become so much more aware of the physicality aspect of my body. I'm 52. I plan to live to 100. I tell people that constantly. I'm living to 100.
Yes.
The night of my birthday, I'm 100 years old. I will be like just dying. So, I am aware, like even my daughter, she had this injury. She's 26. She had this injury in volleyball and her pinky got just broken and messed up. And I saw she wasn't really taking care of it, like in the physical therapy and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, babe, I'm just going to tell you, you will wish 20 years from now you did that physical therapy and you took care of that finger because you may not feel it now, but you're going to feel it, right? Anyway, so I'm hearing the integration of all of these aspects from you, which I think is wonderful. I want to start with more of the spiritual, emotional aspects of the healing process. And when did you guys become, Maureen, you got to get that healing back on that microphone, girlfriend.
I know. What the fuck is going on? This is
definitely. When did you personally become aware of what we would call in this conversation somatic practices, whether it's yoga, breath work, some sort of somatic release, energy practices. Dr. Danielle, you and I have had this conversation before. When did you personally come into contact with these practices, and how have they helped you?
Yeah. It was really through my yoga practice, but it was after my father had passed away. And getting, similar to those that I work with, getting in the state of constant stress, anxiety, busying myself. And even with the yoga practice, using that as, what I thought to be a form of relief, it turns out it wasn't for me because I was adding more things, adding more to my schedule, and, just kind of going back and forth. And so once I learned, started doing some research, like, how do I get out of this state, this cycle that I'm in? That's when I learned more about the holistic, the mind and body experience, not just, the body or the breath or the mind, just putting it all three pieces together. They work in conjunction. And that's really when I personally started to have that awareness of myself and understanding what I needed personally to heal my body.
I came into these practices really young, and I would love to share for people that maybe there's certain verbiage around some of this industry that people might not be familiar with, or they might think, oh, I'm not really aware of somatic practices. But actually, when they're doing their breath work, when they're doing their meditation or the yoga practices young, that's what that is. That's that body to touch practice where you are releasing trauma and you're increasing your energy field. And I think although I started really young, my practices has really increased, and the way that I really have come to understand more about it is actually in the studio, because obviously you're recording vocals, and so that focus on breath work just becomes so exaggerated and so important, and you become just so aware that when your body is in a good place and that you can deepen your breath and you can actually sink into your body, the level of capacity for you to hold is just so much greater. So although I started younger, I think I've become more aware of the verbiage around it in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
I love that you're back. Welcome back.
I'm back, you guys, but what happened? I lost David on my end.
Yeah, I think his froze up, but
okay.
If you want to go ahead and answer, hopefully he'll jump back on.
Okay. What was the question?
We were talking about when we first started to come into somatic practices and
Okay, perfect. Okay. When I first was introduced to these somatic healing practices was after the guides and angels called upon me to work for them. And after doing readings, they then required me to receive hands-on healing, and then eventually started to activate my healing abilities and had me heal people. Where it finally made a shift with me is when they would open me and activate me when I was receiving to begin with, and I would actually see and then also feel several guides and angels had their hands on my ankles, some on my shoulders, one on my head, and I was fully being brought to awareness on how much help we actually receive when we receive Reiki, also known as hands-on healing. They then would give me visions while they worked on me and showed me how they're clearing out just the negative psychic debris that humans collect, and how it's going to clear my chakras and keep me opened up wider, take away headaches. In one session, I was laying on my stomach and they told me to also treat my back, because when you work psychically and also when you're a human, we have so much fears, anxieties, we hold it in our spine. I was lucky enough to see a long movie vision of a healing guide of mine, an American Indian named Joaquin. And I saw him take this huge Indian feather and like dust my spine. And they were telling me he was clearing the psychic debris from my spine, as well as also nervousness and anxiety that happens, before doing a reading, because I go into the unknown, never knowing what to expect and what's going to happen. So they showed me in numerous ways how the energy healing works to help us on all levels: mental, psychic, which means energetic, our energetic body, our physical body, headaches. And then also, when I started doing healings, I would get reports from people saying how it completely gave them this dramatic energy boost and cleared away sadness, depression, and they'd come back asking for it again. So they taught me it works on all of our different body levels: physical, mental, and emotional. So since then, they require me to do it often, and because of that, I don't fight it. I welcome it, and I feel like crummy if I don't receive it regularly. So
Yeah. That's how I feel about hypnotherapy too.
hey, you feel a dramatic shift afterwards.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really cool.
Well, hey guys.
Well, welcome back to you too, David. You and me, what's going on? I don't know.
The energy is just too powerful.
Powerful.
The power went out at our place. We're replacing a hot water heater, and the guy turned off the power, which
Of
I
course.
may have expressed my displeasure slightly. All right. So back to the conversation. You guys have been sharing about how you came across somatic practices. Did everybody have a chance to share?
Yes, you
Okay,
arrived
good.
right on time.
Wonderful. Well, I loved what all of you had to share. I just felt like that was super deep, and I appreciated that. I will rewatch it. Talk to me about your thoughts on why do you think our society seems to disconnect from our body. It seems either we hyper focus on our body or completely disconnect from it. It seems like it's either like one or the other rather than somehow seeing it and treating it as sacred. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that, Jim?
I love this question because I think that society actually rewards the opposite of what is good for us. So we're very awarded on performance based. And when you're in that high stress performance, I always need to be on mode, that's absolutely the opposite of having a really calm and centered nervous system. And so I think all of the ways that we get these, gold little stickers along our life and pats on the back, it's actually completely counterintuitive for what we're meant to be doing. So I think we all run to holidays and meditation and think, this is so nice, because we're intuitively listening to what our bodies actually needs. And I think all of these practices are just leading to a better mind-body connection, where we're learning how to turn off that reward system that we've been coached for such a young age and say, actually, I'm going to go inwards and I'm going to listen to what's healthiest for me, what is best for my body.
Mhm.
And I think this is very societal.
What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Danielle?
I definitely agree with Jem, and I think we also tend to get caught in the kind of checklist to do things like, I'm going to do this and this is going to help me. And then next I'm going to try this and then I'm going to do this, instead of thinking about the body, the mind, the spirit holistically. It all is intertwined. It can all happen at once. We don't have to do one thing, then the other. If we're focused too much on one thing, we're going to get more of that one thing and less of the other. We get more of what we focus on instead of doing a little bit of everything at a time.
What are your thoughts on the not just the focus of like what we do, but the like either we're hyper focused on the way our bodies look, or it's kind of crazy. Like I will travel outside of Southern California, and in Southern California, there seems to be a hyper focus on how the body looks. And then in other parts of the US, especially if it's outside of a major city, there seems to be less of a focus on what the body looks. So it seems like it's either one extreme or the other. And maybe that's just my perception. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Maureen?
How I see it is, it's the temptation of living in the physical dimension right now, and people becoming dim and forgetting that there are actually spiritual beings that are living inside these vessels, these temples, and the trappings of the physical dimension is where there is the vanity, the collecting, the materialism, living to satisfy the ego based on status, financial rewards. And when that happens and people choose that path heavily, they disconnect even further from the reality of their presence of being a spiritual being here, intended to evolve under these challenges, and that we should be like pushing back on the temptations and being strong enough to say no, and then center over here on remembering to care for the soul that your vessel is holding and your evolution process. So it's a constant test with so many temptations and sabotages along the way, where we're constantly being like, oh yeah, no, that didn't serve me so good. Dang, I forgot about this. Need to meditate, need to be more careful, because the vessel, the temple can break down. And they've shown me that when people are too hyper focused on trying to keep up here on earth with the general practices. As far as your question, why also here versus I'm from Minnesota, so I moved here, absolutely. Everyone's more focused about their figures and thinness and more vanity physically. In Minnesota, yeah, of course we had it there, but not to this degree. I think it's the adapted mentality of certain areas are just more focused on the vanity parts of our beings, and other places they shift their focus wherever else it is, hobbies or work, or maybe more spiritual places. Um, I want to say Thailand for some reason, are more focused on meditating and embracing the spiritual aspect of their being. So there is something to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we talk about at Behind the Lids, which is the breathwork and meditation studio that Mandy and I have here in Southern California, is the concept of stored energy, tension, emotion in our bodies. Is that over time, if that is not processed or expressed, it then is like impacting us negatively. Dr. Danielle, talk to us about the negative impact of us not processing trauma, stress, ongoing challenges, whether it's big T trauma, small T trauma. How does that show up in our body? And what are some signs that people might be experiencing that they might not even be realizing?
Yeah, so many things, right? The people that I often work with, common is insomnia, losing sleep. That's something I definitely experienced myself when going through it. The carrying the physical pain, the neck, jaw tension, early signs of aging or faster aging, feeling like because you're losing sleep, because the stress is wearing on you, it starts to show up on you physically. And maybe that's where some of what you just talked about, feeling like people, especially in certain areas, feeling like they're focusing on how they physically look. But if we actually refocus on, that mind body experience and healing from the inside out, some of that starts to correct itself, relieving the stress, healing in terms of maybe you're also suffering from high blood pressure and cholesterol issues. Some of that will naturally release as well as transfer, to our outward appearance.
Mm-hmm.
More brightness and a sense of presence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So insomnia, big one. What about for you, Jim, as you think about your own life and the people that you connect with? What are some outward signs that we're holding on to storing that energy in our bodies?
I think Dr. Danielle described all the physical ailments beautifully. I think the only one that I would add, it's more emotional. I tend to see people have a sense of stuckness. They're stuck. And so their practices aren't quite working. So, well, I meditated that one time, and it's a reminder that This isn't a one-time fix. This is releasing energy from the body. It's a full-time practice, and that's why it is called a practice. And this is something that we integrate daily so that we don't have those accumulative effects that you've all spoken about. But for me, creative stuckness, people not having ideas, not feeling in flow, not feeling aligned, and it's just a general feeling of not feeling very good. And I think that's why these modalities are so powerful when done regularly.
What are some of those modalities that you have integrated into your life, Jem? Whether it's, I know for some of us it's every day, others it's a season of life. I needed this, and that's kind of come into my life. What about for
That's
you?
okay. That's okay too. I think my focus is always music because I'm a music producer. So just being really conscious of audio inputs. I mean, on a very basic level, when you think about we go to sleep and we close our eyes, our ears are always open. And that's how we're alerted to alarms. They're always on. And so I think being just really conscious of being kind to them, listening at low volumes, feeding yourselves frequency that actually feed your soul, listening to positive lyrics, whether it's mantra, whether it's meditation music, whether it's just having noise canceling headphones and just turning the world off for a little while. But I think ear health, audio health, I'm such a huge advocate for, and I think this is a really easy way for people to incorporate this modality and just give their body a little reset.
Hmm. All right. I'm curious about your thoughts on lyrics to avoid. Yeah, I'm curious about that because our culture is so filled with all sorts of different types of music, right? Like tons of different types of music. Like, do you find that you go, yeah, it's just probably not a good fit for me?
I think everybody probably does if they're fairly in tune with their body. I try not to listen to negative things. I definitely don't want to listen to anything that feels hateful. And I have definitely experienced in the studio some music is intentionally produced dark. That's just not a vibe that I'm particularly into. So if anyone wants to do a Google of solfeggio frequencies or 432 or 528 or just things that are a little bit more nourishing for the body, and lyrics, it's a really obvious one. If you're listening to something and it makes you feel bad about yourself, please turn it off. I think it's that simple. I don't want to speak down about a particular genre or another. I actually think it's very personal. By just being highly conscious that your ears are always on, and even if it's on the radio, even if it's in the background, that's being absorbed into your body.
Hmm. Maureen, as you work with clients, you do a lot of readings, a lot of channeling for clients. What are some of the symptoms that you find that people are coming to you with that are evidence that there's kind of stuckness, stuck energy, emotion, tension in their physicality?
Life on earth is difficult a lot of times. And with our difficultness, we do experience periods of anxiety, fear, and depression. When those feelings take over us and they're not released somehow so that we're shifting out of it, it will lead to low energy, lethargic, headaches, lack of appetite, just crabby. When they have the energy healings, and then also combined with wisdom from heaven, I noticed a dramatic shift. We have to constantly work at, because we're a completely energetic being and our sentient being that we were created to be, constantly having to work on raising our vibration to shift us and pull us out of those negative places that will land us there at any given moment because of how relationships can be difficult, health challenges can be difficult. Um, I've noticed a dramatic difference if you combine both. If you receive divine guidance along with constantly caring for your body, mind, and body through the energy um, and other healing modalities like music, they're very strict with me, very strict. I have to listen only to certain frequencies from morning until after work, and they're an array from the deeper meditations where I meditate an hour a day to the ones that aren't as deep, so I can actually sit and channel for them. So the music is a dramatic way to shift people also out of those moods and be able to finally let go of how we ruminate over someone that's lied to us, betrayed us, da 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 da. Boom, you can finally let go and move on. So music is so powerful. The energy healing is powerful. I know hypnotherapy is really powerful. but it's an effort. Like we have to make an effort to make these things on our schedule, put the time and money into it, and think, no, they're worthy to invest in, because they're so much more worthy to invest in versus I'll just go drink a bottle of wine. I'll just go eat a bunch of junk food and make myself feel better with sugar, caffeine, alcohol. That's going to just create the addictions, the bad habits, and then pollute our sentient being bodies, which also lends to the minds and then the souls. And then we crash, we get sick, we get depressed, we get hopeless, we don't function. So it is something that's so under misunderstood here and underestimated, which is why I like that you're having this topic, so that we can help bring people a higher awareness to the importance of constantly having to serve and take care of our energetic being.
I thank you, Maureen, for sharing that. I was introduced to somatic healing as a specific technique of a therapeutic technique a couple years ago. I was going through a challenging time, and I started going to a somatic healer where he would have me lay on a essentially like a massage table and fully clothed. And then we would drop into a deep meditative state. And he was trained through a practice called neo emotional somatic release. And we would go into that deep place and become aware of any uh, places in my body that I am sensing that there might be something that was, I don't know the exact language, but you know, okay, let's just say out of whack, right? Something's not feeling quite right. There's an emotion stuck there or something. And then we would drop into any visuals, any words, any colors, any sounds, any textures that were connected to that spot in my body. And I probably did about 25 sessions with him. And I will tell you, it was the most transformative thing I've experienced in years outside of psychedelics, is because I had done a lot of talk therapy. And it was like, okay, well, I can talk about my challenges and I can describe them from every single angle. But for some reason, I'm having this thought, this feeling, this issue that just can't let like release. And within the first 2 weeks, I'm laying on this table, like bawling my eyes out, not because I'm experiencing like some sadness. It was just this emotion that needed to be released from within me. And I was like, whoa, this is unlocking this secret world inside of me that I didn't even knew existed. And I do not think that that would have happened by merely doing yoga, which I had done, or breath work, which I lead. But it was exploring my interior world and allowing the intuition within to give me the visuals, the sounds, right? And then all of a sudden, through his amazing guidance, having that release within me. I guess I'm so fascinated by this type of practice. Danielle, what's going on when I was going through that 25 sessions with him? I'm seeing things, I'm hearing things. There's emotion coming within me. Like, what's going on inside my body? Tell me.
Yeah, that's really where you're making that mind body connection, right? You're going into that deep, relaxed state, bringing awareness to specific points of your body. You're really starting to understand, where am I feeling this? Why am I feeling this? How is it feeling? All the questions to understand where you're harboring that emotion, the pain, whatever it is you're experiencing, and then using that deep meditative state, going, channeling that subconscious to reprogram, rewire the mind and body to find that release. Making either positive or negative associations with what you're feeling so that you can release it and move forward. Oftentimes we'll use the colors, we'll associate various colors with, positive or negative associations, or just, whatever you're feeling. Okay, this is, a warm feeling in my belly. So maybe it's feeling more red for me, or, the color can vary for each person. And then if that feels negative, changing the color, changing the association, moving it through and out the body. And then you can always use that, that color, that feeling to create positive association so that if that ever starts to come back, you can remind yourself how you want to feel by just simply reminding yourself of a color. So it's pretty amazing how like I said, the mind, body, the subconscious works together. But we can't do it. Like you mentioned, like just single practices alone, like yoga doesn't go deep enough to make that happen.
Mhm.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, go Maureen.
I know exactly what's happening. So when you had that experience, your healers, guides, and angels were allowed to literally pull out and release what was causing the discomfort. When I work Kuan, I'll see her and I will see her literally pull out rays of gray light. I'll see her infuse like burning fire to burn the infections, the toxins, the energies that cause discomfort, also the emotions and energies that cause us to not let go of things mentally. So it's the guides and angels that are just literally pulling things out. Jesus has worked on a migraine condition of mine the last couple of months, and he's now shown me the more advanced level of not just pulling out the rays of gray light that hold us down, but he used a scalpel to cut out the infection in my head, and it hurt. It's gone through multiple times like you cannot imagine. And it's like the level of you want Vicodin, I have to lay there and take it. But when he's done, there's a significant healing in the level of my headaches. So they're literally going in there, your guides and angels and your healers, collectively working to release it physically through the miraculous powers that the guides and angels actually have. And it's being healed both at a physical and an emotional level on several ways. Your feelings, but also a legitimate toxin or bacteria that's caused inflammation in your body. So it's amazing. That's unfortunately what people don't understand about energy work. It's done with the assistance of heaven, with the guides and angels who are the ones going in and gifting you these miracles is what it is.
Mhm. Jim, talk to us about the power of music in the process of like whether it's yoga, breath work, a concert, and how because he was playing music the whole time too, right? Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it was like getting me in this state. What is music doing to us to help us release these things that no longer serve us?
Oh, my favorite topic ever. Well, I think, sound is physical. And so whether it's any of these modalities, if it's a hands-on healing, if it's channeling, if it's meditation or breath work or vibroacoustic sessions, I think these frequencies, the sound is physical. So you know this because you'll have a bass that moves you. You'll have higher frequencies that sort of tickle your crown chakra, and you do feel it in different places in your body. And I think it's the same way, like in the way that we would use a tuning fork to align with something. I really love this practice, and I think bringing in the frequencies that you need to support your health and well-being. And I love that this is a measurable thing that you can track on any of your wearable devices as well. It's those mechanical reactions to the music that you're intentionally putting in. And I'm really big on the intention piece as well, because I think it's the intention with the frequency that actually equals healing and you have the best results. But it's the rhythm is in training the brain. And so back to what Dr. Danielle was saying about that mind-body connection, all the music is doing is it's removing and teaching you to come back home into your body. And I think that is the very essence of what we need to do to be present and grounded, but we're up in our cognitive mind, worrying or stressing or just not being very present. And so I think music is a vehicle. I like to call it the bridge between science and spirituality, but it's just a physical vehicle that you can use to help align everything within you for total wellness.
Mhm. If we make this shift,
Mhm.
if those of us who are having this conversation, those of us who are watching or listening, go, okay, I'm actually going to treat my body as a sacred vessel. which, by the way, I had this conversation. I can't even remember who it was the other day. And they had suggested, what if you took on the mindset of one who all of a sudden got dropped into this physical being, and you had never been in it before, and you started trying to figure out, how does this thing work? Like, almost like you landed on the moon in a, like a moon suit, and you had no practice before, and you were like, oh wow, how does this even, I don't even know how this works. Like, what if we slowed down enough to go, oh, look at that, if I move my, if I, oh, interesting, and if I eat this, it makes me feel this way. If I work, if I rest, right, and become super conscious of how this being works, as if we had just stepped into it for the very first time.
I think you would probably map your entire nervous system if you treated it like that.
That's kind of a cool exercise, right?
Yeah.
So, what was my question? Oh yeah. So if we take on this thought, take on this belief that our bodies are sacred, it's a sacred vessel, how might this change the way that we experience everyday life? Like, kind of sell us on it. If somebody's not thinking this way, go, this is how it would change the way that you live your life. So, Maureen, go first. Tell us.
It would actually change things dramatically because, like I mentioned before, the Ascended Masters are obviously kind of strict with me, and so they have forbid me from listening to certain frequencies, which are the dark ones. They show me how you can listen to a certain level of rock, but there's that other category, and there are negative entities around this planet. Unfortunately, you are going to bring those. I'll just leave it at that word. Negative entities into your space if you align yourself with those frequencies and listen to those songs, because as God and Jesus have taught me, it is a form of manifestation. What we expose ourselves to, we bring to ourselves. When we be more mindful about also our limitations, that you can only exist so much in a mall before you start getting tired and feeling like crap, because you're taking in all the negative energy that you could be exposed to from the earthlings in the mall, the other negative entities. Therefore, disconnect before you crash and get an episode of fatigue and get sick. You'd be more careful about conflict with humans. Instead of having to have your way and really argue with somebody, you're going to learn how, not worth it for me, I'll just get drained and fatigued, and it will put me like out of business of being able to function. I'll gracefully back away, and you have your opinion, I'll have mine. You'll make a lot of subtle choices, down to even foods. You're going to recognize certain foods because they have more toxins in them. The alcohol, the coffee, the gluten, the dairy. All of a sudden you feel sluggish. You have a stomachache. You're going to be more careful. So it's like on every, which is why they wanted me to do this episode. It's so much more advanced for us here that we're really not aware of until you really start to delve into studying it. And once you do, and you embrace all the practices that are available, you can dramatically raise that vibration, which will keep you in a more healthy and happier state. So it's like paying attention to not just physically, but also emotionally, mentally, and environmental wise also, and being mindful of it.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you for sharing. If people want to work with you, what are the ways that they can receive a reading, connect with you, and where should they connect with you online?
Sure. You can go to oraclemarine.com, inquire what you would like. We'll put you on the waiting list. Unfortunately, there is one right now. I am going to mention, I also have a charity, Angel Among Us Foundation, where you can learn more about the lessons and the teachings that the Ascended Masters continue to give to the world through me in both aspects. All my profits from all of my spiritual work get donated to either my charity or other people's charities.
Maureen, it's great to have you today and good to see you. Thank you. So oraclemaureen.com. We'll, of course, put that in the description of this video as it is released with the replay. Jim, talk to us about, from your perspective, how would life look different? How would it feel different if we actually take on this belief that we are a sacred vessel?
I love this belief, and I think it would have a couple of main differences. One is just your general awareness, and I think that would create a curiosity rather than a judgment. So you would start from a place of childlike curiosity, which I think would be really, really beautiful. I think it would increase regulation, so you would feel more safe. You would just have just a better nervous system, which would increase overall health, and I think then your integration, mind, body, spirit connection that we've talked about for a lot of this podcast. And once you have that, then you can access your creativity. You can access all of these higher frequencies and realms that we have been talking about. And I think over time, you would just feel so much better. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to live longer, like you said. I hope we all get to 100, David. I loved that. I really hope that happens. And I think just living like this, it's just being a lot more present and just treating it like a blessing and treating it like a gift and intuitively knowing and opening that capacity for yourself. I think they are the main areas that would occur if we lived like this.
Thank you, Jim. Jim, where can people access your music and follow your work?
They can find me on Instagram at Gem Osset, or my website under the same name, gemosset.com. And I have a new album that is perfect for meditation, somatic breathing. One of the tracks, Equinox, we actually worked with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and that is called According to the Moon. And you can find that everywhere that you listen to music.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jim. I've used some of Jim's tracks in my breathwork sessions in Southern California, have people breathe along with Jim's work. So thank you. Dr. Danielle, how would life be different if we saw our temple as sacred?
Yeah, I actually talk about this some on my TED Talk that I did recently. But, going back to some of the physical, reduced stress, anxiety, managing your blood pressure, it's not necessarily something that happens overnight, right? But you can start to see how it regulates it, practicing the breath work, practicing having that sense of calm. Oftentimes people that do have blood pressure concerns, for example, they might measure it in the morning when they wake up, in the evening, getting 2 points of comparison, practicing doing the work, before you take your medicine when you wake up, and then in the evening, and how it's helped regulate your pressure throughout the day. Like Jem was saying, just in general, your central nervous system will be calmer. You'll have less emotional reactivity, whether it's, lashing out at people because you have this pent up stress or anger about an issue, but you're able to find a release in a healthy way, um, without taking it out on other people. And you can present in a way that feels genuine, natural, comfortable to you without feeling like you're having an outer body experience. This kind of example that a lot of my clients will express, like their emotions just took over and they weren't themselves, right? So those are some of the common things.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Danielle, where can people follow your work, connect with you, reach out for guidance?
Yeah, pretty much on most social platforms under Dr. Danielle Griff. Also on my website, drdaniellegriff.com. I have a retreat coming up in April, the Rise and Renew retreat. So if you're unable to join me for one-on-one coaching, you can definitely join us in Mexico for that retreat for 5 nights.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, really appreciate your guys' presence here. And for those of you who are watching, encourage you, if you haven't already, to subscribe to Awaken Magazine. You can get a free subscription at awakenmagazine.com/subscribe, and you'll get our weekly content, releasing a variety of interviews and articles each week that are inspiring around issues of consciousness, mindfulness, and spirituality. So, Maureen, Jim, Danielle, thank you guys so much. I loved having such a diverse perspective on this topic. It was so funny when I was first looking at, for those of you who are watching, we actually invite our executive contributors to sign up for the different topics based on their interest. And so when I saw this, I was kind of like, well, this is an interesting combination, because I'm anticipating like 3 somatic, healer type folks, and this conversation just ended up being so unique and diverse because of everybody's different flavors. It was perfect. So I appreciate your guys' sharing of your wisdom, your story, your heart, and thank you for what you're doing in the world. So thank you guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
All right. Until next time, you guys feel free to join us. Rise and Shine live stream every Wednesday, 9 a.m., 12 noon Eastern.